traveling. How far west did you go?
Far west?
Yeah, did you go to California?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I went to California in 48.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a year after I hit the road.
Do you?
I was going everywhere, all down south, everywhere, New Orleans.
Did you handle everything, the booking, the hotels, everything?
I handled most of everything for about 2 or 3 years, and then I had to have some help because it was a burden, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I give some of that work to John Miles, but he was my oldest man.
Yeah. How old were you at the time when you started out?
Back in there, well, we can see we can figure from 49. Well, I'm 79 now.
79?
Yeah.
My God.
Now, this was 1949.
Mm-hmm.
So you can figure that out. I guess I was in my late 30s or 40s.
Right.
You know?
Now, you weren't singing falsetto at that time when you started, were you?
Yeah, I was singing it then.
You were?
I'm talking about when I first organized my little group in Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
With me, when we was little young boys going to school.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't singing falsetto.
Mm-hmm.
I was just doing all natural singing. When I'd hit a note that kind of put me in a little strain.
Right.
I stopped that. I said, no, I can beat that. I stopped hitting the little notes that I was hitting that was straining me.
Right.
I'd hit them in falsetto.
Uh-huh.
That's the way I developed that.
Uh-huh.
You understand?
Had you ever heard anyone else do that, Reverend Jeter?
Let's see. No, do so much of that falsetto.
Was Pop Harris around then?
Huh?
Pop Harris?
Pop Harris could do, he with the Soul Stirrers.
Uh-huh.
He could do a lot of that, but see, Pop Harris did his like in a different way.
I see.
Pop Harris would do what you call yodeling.
Uh-huh.
He could yodel.
You're right, now that I think of it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, he could do a lot of yodeling in his, and what it did, it was pretty, but it didn't affect the public spiritually.
Right.
And so I would come along and just do it straight and try to hold the spirit in it.
Today I interviewed Willie Neal Johnson about 2 years ago, and I said, Willie Neal, who is the father of falsetto singing? He said, Claude Jeter. Everyone has always said Claude Jeter. And when I listen to the falsetto singing today, not to take anything away from them, it's something different. This morning on my program, I played the Lord's Prayer.
Neal, you say?
Keynotes, Willie Neal. Willie Neal Johnson. Willie Neal Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Well, them boys, we inspired those boys.
Absolutely. He loves you. The man talks about you all the time.
Yeah.
Talks about you all the time.
Yeah, we used to go out in their hometown out in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And sang all the time. They opened the program.
Mm-hmm.
They idolized us.
When I listen to the tenor singers today, Paul Beasley, Charles McLean, and many of the other ones, though they have the high tenor voice, there was something about yours that stood out and still does stand out from the rest of them.
Well, I don't know. Well, that part, as far as I'm concerned, is inexplainable because I just do it my way and the way I, whatever you call it, transferred my voice to do.
Uh-huh.
You see? I just did it the way I felt it and I stuck with it, that's all. People sing falsetto can sing it beautiful. Some of them can go higher than I could with it, but the soul wasn't there.
Yeah, there's I believe God put anointing on your voice.
Singing falsetto and holding and keeping the soul in it is two different things.
Absolutely. Anybody can get a gimmick, but when you get the anointing, it's the difference.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Yeah,
now,
I imagine I inspired a lot of them to do that.
Absolutely. Now, going back to the 40s, 47, 48, you're traveling all around the country. Yeah. How many fellas was in the group at that time?
How many what?
How many fellas did you have in the group?
How many
did you have in a group back in 48 when you started traveling?
One time I had 6. Yeah.
Was you still a cappella?
we did some acapella things then.
Uh-huh.
But you see what we did, like I say, I'm doing acapella, like we used to do the Lord's Prayer acapella.
Right.
Well, I pick up maybe whichever folk blended the best.
Uh-huh.
On the harmony. The other would sit down, you know.
Okay. Now, when you left King Records, what was the next label you went to, Specialty or VJ?
Specialty.
Specialty, okay.
I went to Specialty in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, Art Rooper.
Art Roop.
Yeah. And then I was there with them. And when I left them, I went to to VJ.
VJ. How many albums did you do on Specialty? I have one.
Oh man, I don't remember.
Uh-huh.
I did a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of songs. I don't know how many songs we did on them.
Mm-hmm.
We might not did too many because I wasn't with them but about a year and a half or 2 years.
Right.
Because I didn't like the way they was distributing me, you know.
Uh-huh.
It didn't seem right. I went a lot of places to sing. We go to a lot of places they didn't have my records.
Really?
And I know that I couldn't blame anybody for that, but especially the label.
Well, now that had to be in the 50s when you went on Specialty.
That's right.
So the Specialty records had
1949 I was on Specialty.
All right, so they had the Soul Stirrers, they had
the Soul Stirrers,
Gospel Harmonettes,
Boys, they had the Harmonettes,
Brother Joe May, Pilgrim Travelers,
and the Swan Silvertone.
Yep.
Yeah, they had all of us.
So you were all on Specialty, and I guess you could get lost in the shuffle, but I think the distribution was better back then than it was later on.
Distribution was good for us on VJ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, VJ.
Well, that was Abner's label, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, Abner was head of it, but it was really owned by a woman named Lillian and another. It was all black.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you know that's what happened to VJ.
What did happen to VJ?
Well, long story to make it short, VJ was the first one that discovered the Beatles.
You know what? I have an album in my basement on VJ with the Beatles at some stadium.
Well, you know I must know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
VJ discovered the Beatles. Album and them. They discovered the Beatles.
Right.
Now, they had the Beatles. Now, but the Beatles were so great. The white companies,
mm-hmm.
you know.
I know the story.
They fought it.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted the Beatles. They were willing to pay VJ, Jim and them, any amount of money.
Uh-huh.
For the Beatles, but no, they wasn't going to sell them.
Right.
They were going to do it. They fool around and some guys finally come around the way to mess VJ up. And we went to Chicago to cut another album. And we went down to the studios with a padlock on it, big as this television.
Mm-hmm.
And we investigated. We found out that they had VJ for over $600,000 back taxes and all that. And they really closed VJ down. Reverend
Jeter, when you look back at that today, do you believe this was an act of racism?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to talk about that one day.
They found out, and at the time, see, they didn't know that VJ was all black.
I know.
And when they found out, that's when they went to work.
People don't realize that. We're so busy shouting Jesus.
That's what it was.
We're so busy shouting Jesus, 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 that we don't know what's happening to us and who's doing it to us. But those of you, and you've been out there, you're from Alabama, so I'm sure you've had your share of encounters with racism.
You better believe it.
Did you have a rough time when you started out traveling on the road back there?
Yeah, it was tough, to tell you the truth about it. We didn't make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Just survived.
Were you ever attacked did you ever run into the Ku Klux Klan?
Well, yeah, because we're down, back in then, anytime you went south, I went a lot of places, and you wasn't treated right, you was dealing with clans. gas stations or whatever.
I'm told that many of our singers today suffer with bladder and other kidney problems because they could not go to the bathroom. They had to hold themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of the illnesses that our pioneers are suffering today.
I did my portion of that.
Yeah, and you're not in the best of health right now.
Yeah, huh?
You're not in the very best of health right now.
That's right.
There was a lot of injustice done to our people.
Oh, man, it still is, to be honest.
It's still going on, and people don't realize it, but I'm going to expose it.
You know what, see, when the Civil Rights Bill came into effect, well, now, that means I've been to hotels and checked in for a room, and they always had a certain place they'd put blacks.
Right.
They didn't deny you a room, but you could sue them.
Real? You talking about after the Civil Rights Movement?
Yeah, I'm talking about even today, you'll find that.
So you still had problems down there?
Man, you still have it everywhere. I went to Washington, and